Once again, a movie came out that I liked that everybody else just seems to hate. Fantasy Island, a new release by Blumhouse. It's a reboot of an old TV show back in the day, except it's a horror version. Um, I like this movie. I'm just gonna get that out of the way right now. I think it's bullshit that this has like a 17% Rotten Tomatoes. I think it's just, people are wanting to hate it because it's a reboot of something that they loved from a child. As a child, like, oh, I love that series. So now that you're remaking it and doing this horror spin on it, I just gotta hate on it. It's just unfair. Like, how is this movie being shit on so much? I don't get it. I thought it was entertaining. It was fun. It was engaging. I was totally into it. I liked the characters. And I will get into that shit more in depth in my positives, but I just don't get it. Like, how this movie is being shit on at all. It's like, just get the stick out of your ass and try to enjoy the film. Yes, my only negatives with the movie is that this is PG-13, and it almost looks like it was R when they shot it. Like, if it was PG-13 and it looked like they shot it that way, and it was totally, like, it was meant to be PG-13, then it would be as big as a problem, but there's certain scenes, there's setups, where I'm like, I felt like this was R. Even with swearing, like, I felt like there was swearing, they kind of, like, cut away or replaced the word with something else, where I'm like, why make it R in the first place if you knew that eventually you're just going to gut it and make it PG-13. It's not really a slasher film. If this was a slasher film, PG-13, I would be not liking this movie at all. But it's not a slasher film. So yeah, the PG-13 thing didn't bother me too much, but it was still annoying seeing how there were certain things in here where I'm like, that could have been cool if it was rated R. People getting shot. We don't really get to see any blood, period, in this film. It's bloodless. It's not scary at all. If you walk into this as a horror movie, like if you want to get scared, you're going to be disappointed. But I didn't walk into this wanting to be scared, thinking it was going to be scary, because nothing scares me. I've seen so many horror movies growing up since I was like 5 or 6 that I'm just immune to that shit. So I don't ever really walk into a movie expecting that. And there's hardly anything that like makes me uncomfortable or, tense. So it wouldn't be fair for me to sit here and be like, yeah, the movie wasn't scary. It's like, of course it wasn't. I wasn't expecting that. This wasn't my top 10 anticipated, so I definitely was expecting it to be decent, at least because of the trailer, the premise. So I was looking forward to this film, and it did not disappoint. It delivered. Another little negative I would have with the movie, outside of the PG-13, the scares not being really there, and if there was a scare, it was like predictable. Like when they say a line like, all right, let's get you home. Boom, something happens. Like you just were counting the seconds, like something's about to happen. But there's one last fantasy. It would be spoiler territory to fully explain it, but there was a fantasy from one of the characters towards the end that I did not care for. It kind of like took away the impact from something else that happened prior. It just wasn't necessary, and it kind of makes no sense. I'm sure if I sat here and I really thought about it, I could think of plot holes in the story. Like, well, how did this happen? Like, who cares? Like, this is a movie that you can just sit down and enjoy with a group of friends, or even by yourself, like me, and just get lost in its world. The atmosphere, like everything else is positives. Just the story. I really like the premise. Sure, it's like a reimagining of something that's already been done with whatever that TV series was back in the day, but a horror spin on it. I like it. I like that there's this fantasy island that you can go to and make a wish, and sometimes it's not exactly what you thought it would be like. Kind of like a Wishmaster. I'm watching those movies right now. The evil genie, he grants you a wish, but there's always like an evil spin on it. Like you wish for $1 million, but there's a heavy penalty, a consequence behind it. In this one, it's kind of like that. Although I feel like not every fantasy granted is supposed to have an evil ending, because how would they be getting business? If every customer was dying, how would they even get word of mouth out there? Because people have to know about this place. So, obviously, there's a reason why these characters are getting, the raw end of the deal. Like, their fantasy is always turning violent, all of them. There's a reason behind that. There's twists in this movie. And that's another thing I like about it. It's not just one twist, there's like 2 or 3 twists. One of them I kind of saw coming like right before it was being revealed. I was like quickly piecing it together, and then it was revealed, and I was like, I knew it! It was fun. Like, I was so engaged in the story. I loved the characters. They were making me laugh. There's lots of humor in it. as to be expected. I feel like Blumhouse is always trying to make funny horror movies, not just serious ones. This is funny. There's two characters in this movie that as soon as they like entered the picture, I just knew I loved them. They're like high-fiving each other. I just love them. It makes you love their characters, so therefore there's an impact if they die. And some people do die in this movie. And if you can make me care about the characters, that's a movie succeeding. Because hardly any horror movies I watch, they're all cannon fodder. Not in this movie. This movie actually focuses on all the characters. They're spreading out all the screen time between each character. And it has a very good pace and flow. It just bounces between all of them, and it's fleshing them all out and explaining their fantasy and their backstory, how they got there. Like, I just thought it was all very cleverly written. And there's even like little references to the original series that they're remaking here. Just a couple of them that I caught, and it made me laugh. But yeah, the acting's very good from everybody. There wasn't a bad performance in here. You got Michael Pena, you got Maggie Q from not Mission Impossible, Die Hard 4, that girl that gets like thrown in the elevator shaft. It's like, your girlfriend's at the bottom of the elevator shaft with an SUV up her ass. I love that line. The atmosphere of the island, the atmosphere of the caves that they go through, the sets, all very high production. Like, I think this had like a $5 million budget. Blumhouse always has like smaller budget horror movies, like a few $1,000,000, but they can always make big scope looking movies. Like, you would think that maybe this wouldn't be all that good with $5 million, because it's very ambitious. There's lots of things going on, and they just do so much with this premise. And I feel like with this premise, you could make a franchise out of this. Like, you could continue this story, have new fantasies that are even more elaborate and awesome in each movie. Like, you can make a franchise out of this easily. And I hope they do. I hope we get a second one with a whole new twist, whole new motives, all the good stuff. So, in the mystery, I was very intrigued by it. I was very engaged. I was never bored one moment. I was constantly thinking, like, okay, I was trying to piece the puzzle together. Like, all right, how are these people connected? There has to be a reason why this person's seeing this. Like, it was fun. I was totally into the film, and that's what we're here for. I mean, if you're here for the scares, I can see why you would walk out like, well, that just sucked. I was never scared. But I walked into it like, just entertain me, keep me engaged, give me some funny characters, and it did that. So the movie totally succeeded in all of that, and I feel like I'm saying totally too much. I'm like Linda in Halloween, getting strangled by Michael Myers. Totally. But yeah, the characters, twists, I can't say enough. It was a fun movie, so I don't see why this has like a 17% Rotten Tomatoes, and that everybody's just like, fuck this movie, it's not scary, whatever, just watch the original TV series. Why did they remake it? Get the stick out of your ass. It's a good movie, very entertaining. It's got Michael Rooker too, I forgot to mention that. But yeah, just go into this expecting to just have fun and see some cool characters and have a neat premise. Like, just go into it like that, not I'm gonna get scared. So when it comes to Fantasy Island, this is a fun movie, very well made, very well acted, with some hilarious characters and a cool premise, nice mystery, and a couple of cool twists. So go out and buy it. I will not be doing any spoiler discussions or anything. There's not really anything that I want to like dive deep into, like the power behind the island and what all that is, and the twist. It's just, I don't know. I just don't feel like going into it. There's nothing really to say there that is worth talking about. I will just let you watch the movie and let me know what you thought about the twist and the power behind the island and whatnot in the comments below. And thank you so much for joining me today. If you like what you're seeing here, you want to see more, hit this like button, show your support, share with all your friends, and become a subscriber today just by clicking on my cartoon face for about 5 seconds. And until next time, auf Wiedersehen.